Well, good evening. It's the 19th of May, Sunday. It is T 47, 53 days left to go until we hit 100 and see what happens then. And it's Journal 53. It's interesting. It's interesting when the high point of your day is taking a ride into Monrovia or Arcadia to uh, to find a bagel shop. Um, which actually turned out to be a pretty fruitful ride because the shop is better than I expected. Um, but on the way there, I was thinking about something, and it's one of my favorite um, modules from when I was teaching all the time, and still is. And I think it's a lesson uh, worth looking at more than once. And that's something called the four stages of knowledge. I don't know if you're familiar with it. If you've been to one of my seminars or if you've been reading my writing for any length of time, then you know it's something I talk about quite a bit because I think it's critical. Um, it's a critical part of self awareness, and maybe I can use some examples from my current reality, my current experience. In the four stages of knowledge are: first, you don't know what you don't know, commonly known as is ignorance. Um, You don't know what you don't know. And you can get into a lot of trouble, by the way, not knowing what you don't know. And most of us have succeeded in that over the years admirably. I know I have. Um, Sometimes the result's been fruitful, sometimes the result's been devastating. The second stage of knowledge is you know what you don't know. And you can actually consider that the beginning of wisdom to a large degree. Um, because if you know what you don't know, then you have the option of researching what that subject is all about. The third stage is my favorite, and I think everybody's found themselves in this situation and probably can relate, and that is that you don't know what you know. You've been around other people, you've been observant, you've been watching, you've been listening, you've been exposed to a number of different things, and a situation turns up, and you find yourself either physically capable of doing something that you didn't know you could do, or you find yourself intellectually aware of something you didn't know you were aware of, and the result is genuinely just delicious. It's generally wonderful. And the fourth stage of knowledge is you know what you know, and commonly demonstrated by confidence and competence and the ability to function, to perform at a very high level. And if you look at this in terms of my personal experience, especially with this disease, 5.5 years ago when I was diagnosed, I really didn't know what I didn't know. I had no idea what I was going to be facing. Um, and that has continued, by the way, to a large degree ever since the diagnosis, um, because you just don't know what you don't know. You don't know when you walk into the clinic and have your blood drawn, um, and you see the doctor 45 minutes to an hour later, whether or not your numbers have betrayed you and you're going to wind up going in for blood and platelets again. And that's a 1.5 to 2.5 hour um, operation. So and in many cases you don't know um, what some of the symptoms of the disease are, and you don't know a number of other things, and that's where curiosity really comes into the mix. If you're cursed and you're not curious, then It's okay if you don't know what you don't know. However, ignorance is dangerous in more ways than one. And that's what led me to a fair amount of research uh, on the web and through questioning my doctors and especially the nurses. If you are blessed to be in a situation where you're surrounded by incredibly capable, extremely well-educated professional nurses, you have the opportunity to learn a lot more about anything you want to know about, um, especially when it comes to your particular situation and in medicine, than you ever thought possible. So I went on a quest to know what I didn't know, to find out what I didn't know, to learn about what I didn't know. Um, I don't like that uneasy feeling when you're confronted with a situation, and I'm not going to say uncomfortable because you lack control, because I'm not foolish enough to have any illusion of control in this situation, other than whatever I can convince my mind to convince my body to do. So I went on a long-term research project to find out what I didn't know. Now you're probably wondering to yourself, well, how does that impact the third stage of knowledge where you don't know what you know? And I think it does it in many different ways. Some of them are intuitively, um, but I found myself throughout the treatment listening to the doctors communicate with one another, especially when I was in the hospital, or the nurses communicate with the nurses, and I understood, at least to some degree, I understood what they were talking about. I mean, I really did understand what they were talking about, and there's no way on hell, no way on earth that I should have understood that. I didn't go to medical school. My disease is extremely rare. 17, possibly 18,000 people out of the total population of the United States. That's 0.005%, maybe. There's no way in the world that I could have known some of the things that were going on with me and with my body at that time. Now, on the fringes of my treatment, I kind of know what I know, and that gives you a sense that eases your anxiety because you're aware of what's going on. You understand it, at least to some small degree. You recognize how it's going to benefit you, and it makes it a lot easier for you to agree and at least feel like it's intelligent cooperation. It's a collaboration, and those kinds of things are incredibly important, I think. And as is the four stages of knowledge in general, and how you put them to work in your life, and how willing you are to recognize that there are things that you don't know, and that's okay. You can't know everything. It's what you do with the knowledge that you don't know what you don't know, and the search that you begin to accumulate information when you know what you don't know, and that you don't freak out or panic when you find something that you don't know that you know. I found that happened to me more while I was actively involved in martial arts, and you were in a situation where you actually responded with a defense that you weren't aware you were physically capable of or even aware of. So think about that. I think it's worthy of a little bit of conscious thought. I'll give you the time to do that until tomorrow when we get together again. Until then, stay well, take care. Know that we care about you a great deal. And we're working hard to make this as interesting as possible for you. Stay well and take care. Bye bye.